Hi, I'm Lucy James, and I listen to the One Up Gaming podcast.
Hi, I'm Keith Allen, and I play Murphy on Z Nation, and I listen to One Up Gaming Podcast.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm the developer of Per Rocket, an iOS space game with cats, and I listen to the One Up Gaming Podcast. You can find a link to download my game at facebook.com/perrocket.
Yeah, this how we do it, y'all. L-G-E, man.
Straight out of Diamond Star Production.
What up to you, One Up Gaming? They're not really ready for this one. One Up Gaming is behind me. Let me get in beast mode. If you wanna try me, you don't need a cheat code. Conte is who I be. To you it's Mr. Hero, legendary adversary. Flows considered lethal. I'm a Super Saiyan, I got Dragon Balls, I wouldn't lie. You might think I'm playing when I'm saying I can really fly. When I'm on the track, you feel the energy I'm pushing out. Put me on the map. One Up Gaming's who I'm talking about. I'm the rapping Master Chief, epic to say the least. Contain the hero, better etch that in your memory. And so the One Up Gaming for the show out. Contain the hero is really gonna show out. Show out. Contain. And so the One Up. And so the One Up.
Dope bitch you ever heard.
Hello, just David here, One Up Gaming. Gonna do episode 200 and... I've completely forgotten. I think it's 234. I'll double check just by looking at my podcasty app thing. And the last one we recorded is 223, so 224. Hi, David here. 224. I'm gonna have a quick talk about Football Manager for the Nintendo Switch. And the only thing that baffles me about it is the actual button combinations and triggers and stuff. I mean, technically it is the touch version, so you can just go up to these things and go there. Well, there. Go there. Sort of like dab the screen with your finger. But other than that, all the buttons sort of work. You use that as, if you can see the little thing on the screen, the little analog stick uses like a mouse pointer. So that's that. But I'm going to go through and do a quick look at the... It looks like I'm going to have to adjust the budget. Accepted. I'm going to have to buy not a very good defender, but it's just because my defenders have all been injured. So I'm buying a cheap defender. I think we've just signed Yunus Kabul, which is not a great player, but I needed a centre defender because my defenders are all injured. But yeah, I will now, it seems as that's that, I will have a quick talk about some of the games that I have been playing while I'm slowly going through on here, and then because I really just wanted to show the actual game itself being played with a 3D match engine, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So, what else have I been playing this week? Oh, my thing's frozen, but hopefully the volume and talk is still working. So I'll click on a couple of buttons, see if that does anything. Oh, there we go, I'm back. Yeah, so I've had a quick go at Lord Runner Legacy on the Switch. And this game is like a really old school style platform game. It seemed okay. I wouldn't pay money for it though, that's the only problem. And the next game was Vostok Inc., I think. And that was also on the Switch. And that's a twin stick shooter. Now I quite enjoyed that game, it was really fun. That's alright. Nope, don't transfer it. So that was a fun little game. I'm playing Southampton now. So I can set my squad up and then I'll show you the game itself. So it's telling me that both Yunus Kabul and He Is Failed they're both roughly about the same sort of time, which is annoying. They've just bought that defender, so I'd have thought it'd have been fit. But anyway, right. Let us go through. Oh god, he's injured. And he's injured. Right then, so Mikel Merino, put you on for... doesn't really make any difference, does it? And then Isaac Hayden. Actually, Diame is back fit, so I can play Diame as well. Let's put Isaac Hayden there. Put in Mo Diame because he's not fully match fit, but he's better. So what is he? Oh, he could play. Right then, so I think that is about it. So I will just go to play the game. Yeah, Hayden. That's another good thing about this sort of version of the game. It actually comes up telling you that certain players might not be match fit enough, so you might not see on there, but it's all blurry, but there it's got condition. So your overall condition like 96%, then your match fitness. So actually a lot more detail in there. So as that's loading through, I will eventually. I've now started season 2025 on my Football Manager mobile. So that's 8 years into the future for that game, which is pretty cool. And so now all the youngsters are getting quite old, and I'm starting to have to edit and search for new people. So can you hear that? That's the sound effects. So I will talk about that in a second. I will just show you. So that's my squad at that side, I think. No, it's not. My squad's the black ones. Guess we're all using a similar sort of tactic. Well, so kick off. So as you can see, it uses full 3D match engine. Come on. Then it cuts back. And then I've only got it set for highlights, so whenever a highlight will happen. I'm sorry I have to hold this up, it's hurting my arm. The Switch is a lot heavier than you think. Come on, there's got to be something happening. No. I will tell my lads to attack. So it's been 19 minutes. They've had 3 shots, I've had none. That's rubbish. Shall we? Ooh. But as you can see, you get the gist of the game. You can have it on the classic 2D view or things of that sort of ilk. But I enjoy watching the 3D match. The only problem I have with it is actually quite slow at loading. But what do you expect? It's the running on the Switch. So going back into the games that I've been playing, I had a quick go at the Martian VR experience. And when I say quick, I do mean I literally just turned it on. I had a quick 2-second go in one bit and thought, no, this is quite rubbish. So I turned it off. I might give it another go sometime, but from what I played of it, it didn't seem very good. I will hold that up. Because, they're not going to show the... is that offside? I scored a goal. Well, I didn't. Anyway, Martian VR experience. I played a bit of the game where you actually have to peel potatoes and then put the potato in the right, either a big bucket or a little bucket. So yeah, it didn't seem great. But moving on, the Wipeout Omega Collection got a free VR update, and Tadich just hit the crossbar and so I had a VR update. So unlike a lot of the Sony games where you get like an extra VR mission or a VR something, this is actually you can play the full game in VR, and it is really good. Really makes you kind of ill, but you know, it's good. Next up, Legendary Roller Coaster VR, and it's only about £3, but I really wish you could just pick between like 5 roller coasters and sort of sit and watch, you know, like the VR roller coaster. But it just starts, and you just go through bits and bobs, and it's just a never-ending loop and it's not very good. Cheap, but not very good. And the last game that I've been playing is the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in VR. And this game, when you've actually got the VR headset on, it's pretty cool because you can actually duck and lean around corners and it is actually really quite fun. Oh, Marina just nearly scored. But yeah, so that is basically all that I have been playing. I will say, anyone that's got a Nintendo Switch, you need to get Football Manager. It is so much fun. As I say, I've played I've played a lot of the Football Manager game on my mobile phone, and the mobile phone version is basically the PSP version that was out, 10 years ago. They've just optimized and streamlined and made it look really nice, neat and crisp sort of graphics on it. Whereas the Football Manager Touch on the Switch it's basically like a PC version of Football Manager. A lot more detail, a lot more depth to the game. And the only problem is because it's on the Switch, it has a little bit of lag when it's loading things and doing things. But I think Southampton have just scored. But like I say, let's just... Diame can come in for him. That'll do. So that's doing some changes, so they'll substitute and everything there. 76 minutes into the game now. So that is basically it. So what I might do is I might put up a quick one of our best of episodes from a year or so ago and just leave this as it is. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening. It's been David, One Up Gaming, episode 224, I think. And we nearly scored there again. But yeah, so that is it. Thank you, and enjoy this next episode.
Do you have trouble sleeping? Tossing and turning all night? Nothing you do seems to help. You're not getting your recommended 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night. Well, now there's a solution. Now there's Fat Cat Fly. With Fat Cat Fly, you'll easily get the sleep that you deserve. Download for free on the iOS App Store, and you're guaranteed to get a good night's sleep with very few side effects, as you help a fluffy kitty eat all the junk food that he wants. Side effects may include sleeplessness and desire for cheeseburgers if erection lasts more than 5 hours. See a physician. Try Fat Cat Fly today. Visit facebook.com/fatcatfly, because you deserve a better life.
Hi, I'm Keith Allen, and I play Murphy on Z Nation, and I listen to One Up Gaming Podcast.
Hi, I'm Lucy James, and I listen to the One Up Gaming Podcast.
I bang with One Up Gaming, drop more hits once I'm famous. The best, that's what our aim is. All platforms, what your game is. To the leaderboards, I'm coming. See me in a shooter, I can promise I'll be gunning. When I hit the music, try to swear I'm gonna run it. Contain One Up, you can try, but we done it. Let's go. Alright, let's go to the best place for reviews I know. Xbox One and PS4, Wii U as far as consoles go. They do handheld PCs, merchandise for you and me. Contests that you gotta do, the prizes are for gamers who going hard all day. We really the boys, cause you're just that great. Can't lose, there's too much at stake. You're a certified badass when you play.
I bang with One Up Gaming. I bang with One Up Gaming.
I bang with One Up Gaming, drop more hits once I'm famous. The best, that's what our aim is. All platforms, what your game is. To the leaderboards, I'm coming. See me in a shooter, I can promise I'll be gunning. When I hit the music, try to swear I'm gonna run it. Contain One Up, you can try, but we done it. Let's go. Go hard all day. Contain. Go hard all day, man. With One Up Gaming.
And we're here, it's One Up Gaming, it's me, David, and this week we've got a special guest, Mr. Jon Hare.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hey.
We'll just gloss over the fact that we've just been chatting for over an hour. It's supposed to be just something quick and simple, but it's very interesting. I can chat with you for hours, which clearly we've just done, but...
Yeah.
So before we start, I would just like to say this week's episode is 201, and we're sponsored by Zencastr. I've completely blanked on the name. It's a... I don't know if you've ever heard of it, John. You probably haven't.
What's that?
It's something that podcasters can use to make their recordings sound crystal clear. Basically, it's like... Imagine Skype.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit the record button, it actually does a local recording of your microphone at your end, and then it also does a recording of my microphone at my end. And once you finish the call, it emails both recordings to your Dropbox or your Skype folder thing, I don't know. And so basically you get two perfect recordings, so you don't get any of the muffled of the Skype or any of the dropouts because it's all recorded locally. And then you just whack them into your editing software, put it together, and you got a perfect sounding podcast.
Sounds good.
So basically it's $20 a month, you get unlimited guests, unlimited recordings, live editing soundboard, and with the code 1UP20 you can get 20% off with the Zencastr sort of software. There is a free service available, so if you're interested, just go to Zencastr.com and give it a try. Which, I mean, we've been using Zencastr for over a year now. It's been amazing. So, I guess, John, it's time to check back in and talk about sociable soccer.
Yes, sir. We can do this.
So I played the game briefly 2 or 3 times at the Play Expo in Glasgow last year. And the new Play Expo Glasgow's next month, so I guess it'd have been almost a year ago.
Yeah, I guess that's about right.
So what features have been added, or what features are you looking to add from the build that I would have sort of played a year ago?
Oh my god, it's hard to remember where we were a year ago. So, I mean, the main things that we've been doing in the last 6 to 9 months, I can remember. The main thing would be the network play is working, so you can play from one device to another device across a network. We've done it internationally from England to Sweden and Finland, and it works very fast. I mean, it's a very fast game, so getting that speed of transfer is extremely important for us. So we've kind of proved that works, which is great. It's working totally cross-platform now, so from PC to mobile to VR, which is, I guess, we're running the VR currently through the PC or the mobile, so there'll be iOS or Android. So currently there's not much of an iOS VR option, but Android is Gear VR, PC is HTC Vive or Oculus Rift. So there's an option if you want to use VR. I mean, having said that, there's only 2 or 3% of our customers, and the guys out there will be VR people, so it's by no means the main focus, but it's supported. But the point is that also we've got our accounts in place with PlayStation 4 and with Microsoft with the Xbox One, and also we're just speaking to Nintendo about Nintendo Switch version. So in the pipeline are all of these different versions. Then with Google Daydream, and the list goes on. There's a lot of platforms, and they'll all work, providing the platform holders allows to. You can play platform to platform across any of the platforms. So far, we've not found a combination that doesn't work. There might be one, but we've not found it yet. So on the gameplay side, the network side, that's very important. So whereas the kind of DIY leagues people might have been used to in something like Sensible Soccer, in Sociable Soccer, you'll be able to do that, set that kind of thing up on the internet. So you can play against your friends all over the world. Of course, you can play locally with competitions on your local machine as well. You know, beat your brother and gloat, the classic style, which is still, in my opinion, the very best way to play the game. But the options of controlling it with the joypad, controlling it with the touchscreen, playing it in VR, playing it networked up, playing it not networked up, playing it from any machine to any other machine. You can play the game with in the way that we do, just playing the action, or you can sit back and manage it, which again was an option in SWOS actually. So you could sit back and manage the game and select the team only and then watch. So for the mobile version, the manager mode, we're going to add a thing where you can basically let the AI play, but you can occasionally override them and do kicks and passes and stuff like that. This is because we're making the game to appeal internationally. It's important in Asia, for example, to have management only options, because a lot of Asian players are less, in China, for example, specifically, feel more confident, but they don't have to do complex, dexterous controls. So it's a very broad target, and we're at the moment working out the order we hit it in. We're very likely to go mobile and PC first at the moment. That seems to be the likely thing that comes out. So in terms of competitions and content, what have we got? So let's start with the friendlies, the easy stuff. So the game has got 1,000 teams, over 30,000 players, all researched, not licensed, so we may mangle the content slightly. We're not so sure exactly how far we have to do to mangle right now, but we're prepared. We have the game's in Unity, so it's all in 3D. The preferred camera angle for us to play is the overhead classic old style camera, but there's many other cameras you can use to play if you wish. The VR camera is different because we sit you on the top of the stadium like you're the TV cameraman, and it works really, really well to give us an overhead 3-dimensional view. So what else have we got? So we've got the straightforward friendlies. So we can play, me and you, Dave, can play a friendly either online, or we can play just on the same machine against each other. Or I can play against the computer. Or we can invite 2 or 3 other people we know and have a competition between us, be that a league or a cup or a small mini tournament we set up, however we want to configure it. This is very much similar to the kind of thing we were doing on Sensible Soccer and SWOS years ago. Then we have what we call the World Game, which is the ability to play any of 67 real-world competitions, again not licensed, but the full leagues we cover. There's 5 divisions in England, 3 in Germany, 2 in Holland and France, Italy and Spain. And then we have Portugal, Russia, Turkey. We got 2 divisions in Scotland too. Portugal, Russia, Turkey, Greece. I may have left one of the European ones out. Belgium. And then we have Japan, Korea and China, USA, Australia, Mexico, Brazil and Argentina. And these are all full leagues with all the full stuff in there. And then you've got the leagues and cups for all of those countries. And then you've got like your equivalent to the Europa League, Champions League, World Cup, African Nations, Asian Club Championship. There's 13 of those tournaments. There's 67 in all. And so you can play through those. When you play through those, we've got another mode which is kind of the main game mode, if you like, which is called the Online League. So you choose the team that you want to represent. So in your case, David, you're likely to choose Newcastle.
Yeah.
So you choose Newcastle, and basically you start the game off. All of our players are represented on player cards as well as being in the game. So you start the game off with we haven't decided the number exactly, but probably about 16 player cards, enough to have a bench of about 5 and 11 starters, or maybe 18. But they'll all be like kids with like 1 or 2 star players. Now, our players go from 1 to 500 stars, so they'll be very low quality players. And any team in the world will have the same starting 11, whether you're Barcelona or Barnet. It's going to be the same. And then as you go through the games, so basically we add all the stars of your players up together. The stars are determined by their skills, so the players are evaluated in 7 skills, similar again to the 7 skills are used in SWOS. So this would be heading, passing, ball control, speed, tackling, shot power and finishing. And each player is graded in those out of 100. Maximum total points is 500. So you don't have these flat players who are brilliant at everything at the top. And as you go through the game and you start playing, you basically have a bunch of game money, and you choose how much game money you want to bet yourself on winning the next game. So you go, I don't know. Let's say, Dave, you think I've got 1,000 game coins. I'll put 100 down on winning the next game. So then you press play, and it will look for an online opponent for you who's in your league. So that all the players in the world are divided up into 10 leagues based on how good their side is. With the poorer sides and the bottom and the good sides at the top. And then it will find you an opponent who could be anywhere. Let's say your opponent is Real Betis or Ajax or whoever it might be. You then play a game against them. And obviously you've got all the normal stuff you'd expect in a football match, with substitutions and changing tactics. And we've got 15 different formations currently in the game. and 3 different tactical kind of switches, like do you want them to play more attackingly or more conservatively? Do you want the back line to be high or back, and do you want to overload set pieces? And you layer up all these combinations to set your strategy. And then depending on the outcome of the game, you go back to your menu and you either double your money because you won, or keep your money because you're drawn, or lose the money you put down because you lost, pretty simply. And then you also start to accumulate and collect stars based on your performance, and the stars go on the back of a new player card. And at any time you can choose to collect that new player card, or you can choose to keep on playing to be multiplying up the quality. So you choose when to stop and cash in and take the player card, basically. But if you lose, you lose. So it's a game about building your side and making good decisions on when to stop and when to continue with a particular run on going for building up the next mystery player. So it's there's 31,000 player cards in the game. There's a lot of player cards. So we once you've got that player card, he goes in the squad. Obviously, he's going to hopefully improve your squad. And then you can also cash in or swap. Eventually, you want to swap all these rubbish kid cards out of your squad. So we give you a bunch of target cards you can swap them for. So as a Newcastle fan, we'd have a few of the Newcastle squad in there as targets, maybe players you've played against from other teams, or ones you've done with the manager upgrading, which I'll explain to you as well. And you could say swap 5 bad, not so good players for 1 half decent player to your squad, who will now become one of your better players. So by this way, you gradually build the quality of your squad up and up and up. And we put an emphasis on helping you to find the players you're likely to want. So in the very, very long term, everyone's going to end up with Messi and Ronaldo and Suarez in their team probably, but the route to that point is quite different. And all the time you're playing for and representing your team. So you'd be playing for Newcastle, representing Newcastle as a player in the league system. What else is there? If you certain rewards you get from time to time, you get star players from the past. So you might get Alan Shearer or Peter Beardsley popping up and offering to join the team for a few matches, and then going again. So they're like special weapons. So this allows you to we've got research on classic players for every single team in the game. So it's quite a nice thing that it connects it more strongly with the club. And then the other feature we've got is that you have a manager, and the manager is kind of the central character, really. So you more identify yourself as the manager, and the manager himself is graded from 1 to 500. And he'll start off on about grade 5. And what that means is, if you've got players up to grade 5, he's really good at managing them. But when you've got players above his grade, he can't really get the best out of them. So, sure, you can do everything you can to get Lionel Messi in after a week. But unless your manager is good enough to manage a very high-starred player, Messi won't be playing to his full potential under the weak manager. You need to upgrade the manager in line with him. And you upgrade the manager by going to visit all the World Game tournaments on, more in line with what was in Sensible Soccer again. So you go to visit these, and as you're playing those tournaments, as you get hit, depending on the team you choose, you're going to win different financial rewards for winning those tournaments. And not just winning the tournament, but say it will set you a target after 8 games. We need you to be in 12th position, for example, in the league. Or we want you to get to the quarterfinals of the cup. And when you achieve that target, then you get financial rewards and your manager upgrades. So if you win the Premier League with Chelsea, your reward is not as big as if you win the Premier League with Leicester in our game. as a manager, you're going to get more kudos and upgrades and actually more money from the game. So it gives you a very, very long-term game, which encourages you to play through the entire world in order to upgrade your manager fully. And with doing that, then you can, by collecting all the player cards, you can get the best possible player team to represent your team, which means you can then play with your player team you're collecting against your friends online in the DIY tournaments and stuff. And it also means that we can monitor who the best players are who are supporting certain clubs. So you've got a chance to represent Newcastle in a real like esports tournament. That's kind of like the latter stage of this. So you can take your Newcastle team and play against a United fan or a Barcelona fan or whatever, playing for their team. And then the very top stage would be to actually represent your country and play for England. So that's the kind of thing we're making.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more in depth than when you first sort of pitched the game.
It's just more. Actually, it's no more. It's just more thought out. So we've always had the idea that you.
I know you said you had the idea of doing like leagues, and yourself as a player can eventually go up to play for the national teams. And
yeah, that's what we've changed. We've changed that to be the central figure is now more the manager.
Yeah.
Or actually, you're kind of controlling the club, so actually the manager himself changes. He looks different after a while. Actually, it's more fun when you upgrade to get a different looking guy sometimes. But yeah, basically you are. What were you thinking about? What we were talking about with the game?
No, as you say, it is theoretically very similar to what was originally sort of said. It's just you've changed a little bit, and like you said, the manager's a lot more focused now.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of a centralised. I mean, I didn't know that you were going to do like a manager sort of mode where you could just set it to play itself.
Well, this was in SWAS.
Yeah, I used to play it that way in SWAS.
Yeah, so yeah, we've always intended to do that because from our perspective, it's actually not much work. I mean, you're just setting the AI versus the AI really, so it's not too hard. You've already done the AI once, so it's not that difficult for us to achieve that.
Yeah, because I think that for me anyway, it could be quite fun to play it that way on the mobile, and then have like on the console have the proper full game, so like the full pad experience.
Yeah, I mean something else that we want to do is to think about a co-op mode. We haven't done it yet, but so you can play actually co-op for some of the games.
So another idea which you've probably thought about, because I'm just a lonely person who doesn't know now, but maybe have a save system that saves up into the cloud, so you can play it on your mobile, save up to the cloud, and when you turn your PS4 or your Xbox on, it grabs the save file.
It may be possible. It depends on the hardware companies and whether they allow us to do that. So some of them don't like a player to have an account on one system, but actually make payment on another. So we may have some restrictions coming from the platform holders in terms of sharing your game account between devices. But if we can, we'll do it.
Because to me that would be really good. That you could play the game, sort of like grind a bit, improve stats on the bus, and then when you get home, you've got your full team there ready to go.
This is what we'd really like to do. Actually, if you want to get technical on the mobile, you can always use a remote controller anyway and do that from home and then get the signal going to your telly and treat it like a console anyway.
Yeah.
It's also possible. But, yeah, I mean, the only restrictions might come if it's about payment. So some of the companies, for example, if you've got an account and you've got an iOS version on an Apple phone, if you've got also an account on Steam, or you can get a Steam version, or you've got a PS4 version or whatever, in theory, because on the mobile versions it's going to be free to play. Yeah?
Right.
So then that means if you've got another free to play account somewhere, then the person is not spending through your Apple account, but through an Android account, for example, or whatever else it might be. So some of the free-to-play mentality companies where the money comes in drips and drabs after time and not all in one lump, they want to know that money's coming through their financial thing and not another one. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's very likely that the mobile versions will be free to play, because all mobile games are now. So we have very little choice over that. That's just the way it is.
I mean, I think you could maybe get around that sort of like free to play if you happen to have a really big name or license that can go with that. But as you say, as a brand new IP, it would be very hard to say $9.99 to sell when even Pro Evo Soccer's PES has just come out on the mobile today, and that's free to play.
To be honest, that says it all. Unfortunately, there's no turning back now. We are in the mobile world. We're in this world. So the way it kind of works at the moment is mobile is more free to play focused. Console is more premium focused, and PC sits somewhere in the middle. And for us, it really depends on who we publish with. And actually, we're talking to some license holders about possibly attaching licenses to the game in some regions. There's one company we're talking to in a pretty isolated region in the world that is interested in a license with their particular football-oriented teams and stuff, and that even in those cases with licenses, they're still thinking free-to-play. So it's the way it's going to go. There's nothing we can do now. The world has moved us into free-to-play, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, mate, we're there, and that's the way where it is. And it's it's not the first time I've experienced it. When we had sensible software, we were forced to go from Amiga to PC and PlayStation, and we really didn't want to, but we had no choice. The industry moves, and we make games. We have to follow it. We can't leave ourselves sort of like back in the past, because you get left behind. And unfortunately, that's what happens.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, you do have to move with the times, but sometimes you don't like where it has moved to.
No, well, I could say that about so many things in life at the moment, but it's the way it's the way it is. And actually, having said that, I think actually what we're aiming to do with this game is to really show free-to-play games what they should be like. This has got a huge amount of content in it. It's not some little light game. This is a big game, and hopefully it will put the bar up a little bit higher for free-to-play game makers to understand what can be done. I guess the attitude we're taking, and it's not normally done in free-to-play gaming, is that free-to-play gaming, you normally get an idea, put it out, build on it. If it's successful, build a bit more around it. As a designer, I like to have a huge structure and get it in place and make it work. And this way we've been able to get the huge structure of kind of world football effectively. And then through the three mechanisms of the online leagues and the world game and the friendlies, we've got three ways of playing football all around the world, literally in terms of against your mates all around the world, but also all around the world in terms of the content. And it's just giving you a whole world of football that works in many different ways, and for the free to play guys, even in the free to play environment. Obviously for the premium players, all of the free-to-play blocks, if you like, are not in there. There's certainly at this stage, anyway, in my mind, unless we work with a certain type of publishing partner, there's no interest if there's a premium title in taking more money as it goes on. Having said that, some of the game mechanics will require you to be online sometimes to be able to check certain things and to keep you waiting. There's some very good stuff that's come out of free to play games, and certainly in our game we hope we've got the balance right between the world game and the online league. See, the online league can only be played online, obviously, but the world game can be played offline as well. For free-to-play guys, it will require occasional going online to pick up your rewards and stuff. For premium players, we can be a little bit more forgiving with that, but at some point it will need to hook back up online just to check everything's going well. And I think at this stage we're likely, even for the premium players, to still give them these coin boosts every so many hours. And the thing when you're structuring a game, like so many discussions we've had, it comes to how can we stop people cheating? Unfortunately, you have to think about it, So you have to construct the game in a way that also takes you online to stop people cheating. It's a part of it these days. Sadly, a lot of people out there just want to cheat.
Yeah, I mean, from what I could gather, that was one of the big reasons why a lot of developers went over to the Xbox 360 with Xbox Live Arcade, because I said Microsoft built a closed sort of like portal, and it's very hard for people to sort of like cheat.
Yeah, I don't know what Microsoft have done, but I do know that it's kind of a reality. It's another reality like free to play gaming. You have to work around it. It's not any fun to have people cheating deliberately. This is, it's not fun. Our league system is deliberately very unpremeditated. So you're online, as long as your opponent is in the same league structure as you, and all our players are only divided into 10 piles, as long as one person in your pile is there, Newcastle playing against Newcastle, you've got a game. And this way, it stops. A lot of people construct football games and they make these big league tournaments, and then they find that there's dropout and no one's hanging around to play their next league match, and it takes the fun away. And it's not just about cheating; it's also about this lack of reliability that some people can have. So you have to construct it all in a certain way to minimise problems from lots of different areas. And we think we've come up with the right balance. Obviously, from our perspective, if it's balanced properly, it would be nice to have free-to-play players playing against premium players on different platforms as opponents. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. Whether that's desirable or not, we don't know yet. But from my personal perspective, we're taking a lot of time to make a great game on many platforms. I want as many people as possible playing it on as many platforms as possible, and it would be great to have people all around the world playing it, device to device, one team to another, just joining people up from having the fun of a game because of their love of football. This is what I want. So
I mean, I just wanted to quickly sort of ask, do you actually play other people's football games?
Yeah, I do. Actually, what I've been playing most of all recently is not an action game. It's it's not even a management game. It's called Football Chairman Pro. And I think I've played about 110, 120 seasons. Let me check. It's my phone's dead now. It's a very each season is very fast, and I found it to be really good fun to play this game because I can whiz through a season in like half an hour. You literally just It just tells you the result of matches. You can watch the text flying through a little bit like Football Manager style, but it's you don't even pick the team. You just choose when you change your manager and make a few other small decisions. So it's a game I've played a lot. I played Football Superstars, which is more of a pool game, a mini clip game. I played New Star Soccer a lot, but I haven't played it for about 3 years on mobile. I played FIFA a bit to have a look at it. I need to look at Dream League Soccer. I played X2 Soccer, but that came out a few years ago. In terms of consoles, PC, yeah, I've played FIFA and Pro Evo down the years a lot. I've not played FIFA for about 2 years, I don't think, on a console. But the last time I played it was about 2 or 3 years ago.
It hasn't changed much.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and it's not necessarily their fault. You get stuck because some fans like it this way. Making a new football game is a real chance to do new stuff. So, on the pitch, for example, we've been adding all the stuff that I like to see in there, but improving the passing is so fast now. Since you played it last, passing is super fast. Ability to chip the ball, ability to, do headers in different ways and these kind of things. The game just keeps on improving all the time. So, on the gameplay side, got to say. But once you put it out there the first time, people get used to it, and then they get unhappy when you change it. So you can make a change. Say FIFA can make a change, and a quarter of the players will go, "That's great. I'm really glad about the change." And half the players will go, "I liked it the way it was before." You get stuck,
I mean, you were sort of like saying before with the sociable soccer that you like to build a full sort of experience, not just do something quick and get it out and then build on that. You like to actually have a full, solid sort of game to start with. How does it make you feel with... I mean, I don't know if you've played it or not, and I don't know how the game is now. I'm talking about last year when it came out, but the Dino Dini's Kickoff Revival, when that game sort of shipped, it only had 32 teams. You could score goals by not scoring a goal. If it went through the side net and it counted as a goal. If the goalkeeper caught it and went backwards into the goal, it didn't count as a goal. There was no yellow cards or red cards. And there was other problems as well. But I mean, we got literally thousands of emails and tweets because we gave it quite a bad review, because to me, the game wasn't finished.
And what did people say about your review?
They were basically saying that you need to re-review the game once the updates are done. And I said, no, we review the game when the game maker says the game's out and ready to buy.
Well, this is an important point. And do you know if it's has Dino done any updates since, and has it improved now?
He has done updates, but I must admit I don't know exactly what was and wasn't sort of added to the updates.
I think there's several issues here. So, number one is from my knowledge, Dino's not a massive football fan, which means
I've heard that as well.
It's harder for him to know what's missing, like instinctively, to know that like you're saying to me, "Oh my God, there's no yellow and red cards." Well, I can tell you in our game currently, because we've not done the referee yet, there's still no yellow and red cards. Because we'll be doing other things, and that's something we can do. In fact, we're adding the different tackling and ball control skills for the players now, which is from that calculation we work out whether you're going to get fouls or sent off or whatever. But we've had the game running without yellow and red cards, our game now, but because I can know it's missing, I can make sure, not just me, other members of the team, we'll make sure that doesn't get missed. But if you're not so familiar with how everything goes together, it's not obvious to you it's missing. So I understand how that could have been overlooked, or maybe seen as a nice to have but not essential to hit his release date. I think from what I understand, he was under some pressure or some contract with Sony to get the game out by a certain time.
I believe that as well.
Which probably has driven him to make some of the decisions, i.e., he did a lot of the work on his own. Again, we've got around about a 12-man team now working on this game. That's very different from one person. It's a lot of pressure on Dino. So I think he ended up with a certain amount of time in his hands and decided the certain features had to go, and maybe the yellow and red cards were one of those features just to get it out. I mean, the stuff about the ball going in the net, these are interesting things because these are all things that have been in our game. The ball goes through the side netting. We have that at the moment, but it doesn't count as a goal. Sometimes that happens because of the way that programming is working, and I'm noticing that because we're using Unity, that there's some weird problems the programmers are encountering sometimes due to the way that Unity structures things I'm talking about now. So maybe, I don't know if Dino developed in Unity, but maybe there's a chance that some of the stuff which would have been easy to do another way is not easy to do anymore. So what programmers tend to do, if they're on the flow of doing something interesting, is shelve the boring bit about making both sides of the net detect the ball and get on with the interesting bit of making one side detect it and making the goal look good when the ball goes in. And then that kind of thing can happen. So it's normal in the middle of development to have those situations. The problem with Dino's had is that the game's been put out without those things rectified. So it's not weird that it's in that situation. It's just strange to have put the game out before those normal mid-development problems were sorted. And it sounds like a time pressure issue to me. That's the reason. And from the perspective of making things big and good before they go out, yeah, I'm very much of the way that the fashion for putting out games which needed patching came from the culture of PC development in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it suddenly became acceptable to put out a half-finished game or broken game. It's not something that I like. I'm sure that some of the games that I've worked on in the past have had those things, but I like things to be perfect. So, but then I'm not a programmer, So it's easy for me to go, that's not working, make it better. It takes me a few sentences a few minutes or seconds for that to come out of my mouth, But yeah, the culture of putting something out that's good enough we can patch it later, I generally don't like it. I mean, in terms of making small games and making them bigger, I do understand the ethos of it, but that's come about due to horrendous budgeting and often development inexperience of people making mobile games, in my opinion. If I go back even as far as International 3D Tennis, they had a whole world of tennis in it. Megalomania was quite a big game at the time with the world in there. Sensible Soccer, the initial one had about 100 teams, I think. Maybe more, actually. I don't remember how many teams. 100 and something. Swartz obviously had 1,500 teams. Cannon Fodder was a big game. Fully mapped out and planned from start to finish. And, I would have to go back to maybe Microprose Soccer was the last game I worked on, and that's 1988. That wasn't planned to be very big in the first place. That's just the way I approach things. Personally, as a designer, I like a big world and to build out from there. So if I've done stuff that's not like that, I've seen it just throwaway stuff like the old budget games we made. But it's a different school of development. Where I'm working in Helsinki, in Finland, a lot more people thinking the way of making it small and building out. I think the problem with that is we've wrapped a whole world of football into a game's economy right now. That's hard to do by building from the start and trying to nail it out from the outside. It's much better to plan it from the beginning. Everyone has their own approach.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I'm not here to badmouth Dino or anyone like that. I just wanted your opinion on if you think that, as I say, when all the feedback we got from a lot of the people were basically, the game's not finished, you shouldn't review it, you should review it once all the updates are done. And our reply was, well, nowadays every single game gets updates. We can't just re-review games every 6 months.
Well, my view is that, the decision was made for whatever reason to put it in a box and ship it at that time. And that's a finished game. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That is how this game works. And I think it's fair for people to say, if there's a definitive update, which is definitely worth you looking at, then maybe it's worth looking at that and reviewing that. But I don't really know. I can look at this in two ways. Obviously I'm very aware of Dino's been criticised for what he's done, and I've only seen videos. I've not played it myself to feel what it feels like.
I mean, I will say the passing and the movement feels really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the rest of it just doesn't. There's just that something not quite right.
Well, I think that there's several things. He's working as a one-man band most of the time on the game, and also he hadn't made a game in the commercial game space for quite a few years beforehand, and the games world is changing massively quickly at the moment, all the time. So there'd have been a bit of catch-up to play as well for him, and I think his ambition for the game was more to prove. Again, this is me guessing. But I think he just wanted to prove that he can still do it, and he can make Kickoff's a good game, and it can still work now in a modern kind of way. Slightly different from our intention with Sociable Soccer, which is just to make a new kind of online sports franchise almost, which can go between many different sports. Our plan is to not just do football with this, but to other sports as well, hopefully. So our plan has been a lot more ambitious and been a lot slower, so we haven't got the game out yet. We're the opposite end to Dino. He's put the game out and been criticised for being too fast and it wasn't quite ready. We haven't even got the game out yet, which is potentially may prove to be a mistake in our judgment as well. Who knows? It's too early to say. You can't tell. Hopefully we've got it right, and hopefully he'll correct all the bugs in his game, and people will stop criticising it so much. But we live in a really, really weird time to make computer games, Dave. It's not an easy or good time, so there's no easy strategy anymore to make it work, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I honestly think Twitter and Facebook and all that social media has really had a negative effect on a lot of things. So yes, you can get instant feedback, but the negatives to me far outweigh. Anyone with any opinion can say whatever they want.
Well, the problem at the moment is lack of filtration. There's actually now as much as 1,000 games a day coming out on iOS. Some days, it used to be 3 a day. I mean the the saturation of the market. So even finding space for the comment on your game for one day, you're fine with 999 other things. It's crazy, and then the next day people forget about it. And we spent, by the time this game comes out, we'd have spent nearly 2 years on it so far, and that's a lot of time investment to get attention for a few days. And it's people just want new stuff. The people making money at the moment are the people who run the channels, the people who own these channels like Twitter, the people who manage the advertising and stuff on them. It's that's where the money's going, And you're right. It's been terrible for quality products to live amongst a sea of shit. It's the way it's been. It's the way it is. You can't. It's very, very expensive to market your way out of this. Very, very expensive. And it's caused the publishing companies a lot of problems because the marketing budgets are ferocious, and the success is not guaranteed still. And as a result, they're paying us less and less money because it's become more of a risk for them, because it's just like a vicious circle, really. And as you say, the comments that people make, I mean, politics is funny, but even with the games industry, it's, in a way, it's better to hear from people who know what they're talking about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess it's, for you guys, if you know how to filter and get to the good, meaningful sort of comments, it'll speed up, your ideas and your, what you can add to the game.
I think from my point of view, I look at it like this, and it can't be seen as egotistical, but we made a load of hit games in the 90s and the 80s. We consulted with nobody making that, just amongst our team. No one complained about them that much. So I actually think that too much user feedback is positively negative for creative people, because, okay, if you've got a game and it's come out and it is broken, like genuinely broken, then yes, fair enough, comment. But most non-creative people, or non-professionally creative people, don't appreciate things which are anything other than what they already used to. So if you ask a non-naturally creative person to design a game, they're likely to come up with, like Call of Duty but set in a zoo, for example, and that's really what's been happening actually for a lot of the last 20 years with games. It's exactly the kind of games we've been getting out the last 15. You've got the inappropriate people with tools in their hands to make new products. You've got a lot of copycat gaming, like a huge amount, and a lot of poor quality copycat gaming. And it's not just games. I mean, it's everything. It's same as applies to journalism, same applies to photography, same applies to writing, music making, you name it. There's too many people doing everything, and in the background there's people making a lot of money out of this noise we're all creating. Every time you transfer a file from A to B, someone's making money from that, and that's kind of like the hidden cost that want to keep this volume of information transfer up. And these are the issues in my mind which aren't being tackled at all. Why has no one tried to tackle spam email? It would benefit all of us if spam email stopped existing. Someone obviously doesn't want to get rid of it. Again, it's just keeping the rubbish in our lives and giving us stuff to filter out, but it's keeping the volume of data exchange up. And someone's making money out of that. And it's not us. We lose money out of it and lose time because of it, but someone's making money. So I don't know. We live in a strange time. We know we do. I think all of us are feeling that it's different, because obviously people from a younger generation haven't lived through the different time to see the difference. But I think that most people, you might be on the very young end of it, but most people are seeing like a substantial change away from a time which felt easier to the time feels difficult now, right?
Yes, it does.
And I think we all feel that, and we're all just trying to do our thing. I'm if I look at myself, I'm making games. I've always made games. That's what I do. I make games with people, and then then I look to sell those games. Just being what I've done for my whole life. But somehow the experience feels different, and the way what I do is perceived differently, and really bizarre stuff kicking around. So I'll give you an example of something very, very bizarre. I found something the other day, which was a website which was trying to... I don't know how they got hold of me or even knew I existed, but the first thing was a question as to how much money people thought I was worth, and someone had made a guess. I don't know where they got the number from. It wasn't correct. It was quite funny. And the other one was trying to work out my sexuality, if I was straight or gay. To which there was one guess that I was gay, and no others. So I'm 100% gay on the website at the moment, which is quite amusing. But what a website! This is like basically anyone that can be seen as obviously Z-list celebrity. Anyone who might be known by anyone due to something they're tracking on whatever websites. Suddenly they're trying to spread just rumours and dirt about people. It's kind of like, who comes up with these ideas, you know? And how does it work? How does it work? And you know, they'd obviously picked up the information on my birth date and stuff from Wikipedia or something, and then just like make guesses about this person and share them with other people. So it's quite amusing to me that that's there about me, but I wonder who might be really affected by these things. You know, I've never noticed that kind of stuff before on the internet. It's just full of a lot of crap like that.
Yes it is. I mean, like, when you're sort of searching for a web page, it's sort of like, it's like searching for like 13 million pages. It's like, well, it's got to have loads of crap in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I guess people must go to it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if they do. I think it works that what happens on the business end is that investors look for opportunities to invest money, and some people are like the startup culture, if you like. They're professionally just looking for new stuff all the time and new ideas, and then they kind of get something going to almost prove it's an idea people want. It's a bit like this thing about making the incomplete product and seeing if it floats idea that we were talking about a while ago on games.
Yeah.
In website form. It was obviously not totally finished and not the finished article, this thing I was looking at, and it's kind of irritating that things change all the time as well. Like, even I went on to Skype now to look at it, and I've not loaded Skype up for about 4 weeks or something, and that wanted to boot up some kind of update and notification and change, and these things just seem to be happening a lot more. And I don't know, that the feeling of being out of control, I think we're all feeling a lot more these days, and I don't think it makes us happy.
But then I used Skype less than a week ago, and I had to update it when I turned it on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're doing something important, or maybe they're trying to make sure that they're keeping up with the Facebook spying bits that hook into it. Who knows? Who knows how these things work? But I think that it would be nice if we can come to the end of this part of use of technology, if it's superseded by stuff which is more efficient and doesn't waste so much of our time.
But I still think it is funny that people pick and choose of what companies they will happily give stuff to and what companies they moan about. It's like, oh, I don't want to give Microsoft any of my details, but they'll happily give everything to like Google or Facebook or...
Yeah, they're all the same. I mean, Sony had a problem, didn't they, a while ago with accounts, and you don't know who these people are. You've got no idea if you're the kind of person who mistrusts people who you can trust. The answer is absolutely none of them, because you actually don't know what's going on. You've kind of got to trust them because it's out of your control. But it's the feeling that thing that Theresa May and the government announced for their policy about social care in the home. You know this thing recently, and that the money will be taken out of your home until your home's worth 100,000. Then the state will pay for your care. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Right. That is very interesting because that particular policy is exactly what everyone's fearing, which is why it was such a negative reaction. It's like proof that everyone just, in the end, whatever you do, sucks all your money away to bring you back down to ground zero again. It's how we're feeling at the moment. I think everyone's feeling that whatever they've achieved or tried to achieve or done or built towards in the past, it all feels like it's not secure enough and very tenuous and probably going to be taken away, which is why you got such a fierce reaction to that very, very fast. Because, you know, people in the south, for example, where the town I live in, well, I'm not living, it's a nice town, just outside of Cambridge. I think the average house price is maybe 250, 300,000. So when you say we'll take your house down to 100,000, that means you're going to have to spend 200 grand on social care.
It's quite a lot.
It's a huge amount, you know, and they didn't think that in other parts, like I mean, God, you live anywhere towards the centre of London, you're talking 500-600 grand a house to get anything. That's like 400,000 or 500,000 you could lose on social care. That's a fortune to lose, and it's the kind of the feeling we have at the moment. What I'm saying is underlyingly that everything we built for in the previous years and all the plans we thought were in place everything seems to be ripped up to go against us. That I'll give you an example. I mean, like making sociable soccer. In many ways, you're treated almost like a startup company. You're doing something new because it's a new IP no one's seen before. Okay, it's got some association through me as the same designer with Sensible Soccer. It's not out on the market. It hasn't proven itself yet. Every mobile publisher in the world will tell you now, we need to see the KPIs. What KPIs are proof that people want to play it and they like it. In other words, you've got to have it released and published and working before they're willing to invest in it. Now, in the old days, people would give you money a quarter of the way into development very easily. These days, it's quite hard. It's possible, but it's hard. And when they do make offers for you with money, often it's very, I've been offered advances that are in line with the stuff we were getting in 1989 recently. So many people have devalued the market that value's gone down. People aren't willing to take risks. You feel like you're being dragged backwards by the day. Of course, if the game comes out and hopefully does well, which we hope it does, it could be suddenly from nothing to being the next big Candy Crush thing or whatever it might be. Because people only see black and white now. You understand what I mean? They only see nothing or everything.
Yeah, it's, as you say, it's an all or nothing culture now.
It's a very bad way to fund and support the arts, because the arts need belief. They need established relationships between development, publishing, finance, of whatever the art might be. And it's always a network of people, like a whole bunch of people with different roles within a team. And it's again that idea of faith and loyalty and people believing in you and backing you and not giving you a chance as in the current way, which is giving everyone a chance, which is rubbish. It's like giving everyone a chance to design the next car for Ford. It's like bonkers. You need to be really good to be given these chances to do stuff which end up in people's hands. And there seems to have been people who control finance communications have understood by making everyone feel like they got a chance, like the whole world is like X Factor. You get a lot of engagement, of course you do. Now I can be the next Master Chef, I can be the next professional footballer, professional musician, dancer, whatever it might be. Of course, if I was 12 or 16 or before I'd made it and been successful at making games, I'd have thought like that as well. I'd have loved that. The problem is there's such a deluge of that. And now when we go to conferences, games conferences, a lot of these people are mixing with the professionals. There's no real sense of seniority in the structures that administer our industry anymore. They've been flatlined by people like Apple, Google, and to a certain extent Steam now. There's no discrimination. No discrimination is very bad when you're good. It's good when you're low, but no discrimination is very bad when you're good at something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just one of those weird sort of situations where we're in now. You know, it's just. I guess I miss the days of knowing I'd get home, put the Mega Drive cartridge in, and I know that game's there. Everything's done. The developer was paid well for it. Sega got their cut, and the system worked.
Yeah, and you had a guaranteed good game that you could play for a long time that would be robust and work from the start. And yeah, we're missing all that stuff. We're missing... There is so much noise at the moment. There's so much distraction. And really, really crazy stuff going on. Like, I think... I can't remember. I made a comment on it today on Facebook. I do use Facebook sometimes. I think Trump called those bombers in Manchester a bunch of losers or something. I think he used the term bunch of losers. He also called someone else a nut job recently. And how have we got to the stage where this common man language has got down to the President of the United States, calculatedly, in my opinion, talking in this way to have mass appeal?
Yeah.
It's just so far from how I was brought up to think what is normal and what is desirable, and I think we're all thinking a bit like that. Like, how far is this going to go? And at the same time, through all this facade of everyone smiling and that, you know, people are just sucking our money and power away. It's obvious the game that's happening underneath. And you know, you've got a Brexit thing going on at the moment, and half the country kind of wanted it because it felt something needed to be done to make a change, I think, mostly. Yeah, there are a minority of racists, but I don't think that was the actual motivation for that. I think it's more of, let's change something. And then you've got a lot of people reluctant to let go of the current structure because they don't want change, but at the same time, often not that happy with the current structure either. So I think people feel like, you know, like we've got a general election coming up when I can't see anyone worth voting for, quite frankly. I don't see a proper solution. I really don't. I mean, we've got an interesting Labour candidate in Corbyn, which is good. At least he's more like how Labour maybe arguably should be. But there's as many pluses and minuses for him, and similar for Theresa May and all of them. Personally, my confidence in the whole system is gone. And then we got the stupid free to play, free first past the post system anyway to bet in, which is one of the worst. If you were designing a system, I'm a game designer. No one would ever design first past the post as a way to do an election in a million years now. It's rubbish. It's so bad. So the whole system itself is a joke to start with, let alone the people you can vote for. So, and I don't think I'm the only person who thinks like this. It's just deeply broken at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know if you agree or not, but for me, I believe that one of the problems is the fact that 20, 30 years ago, Britain still owned a lot of land and countries and whatnot. But over the last sort of like 30 years, we've given a lot back. And I think now we're struggling because we're finding out that we're not the superpower that we were. We're just a tiny little island that nobody likes.
Look, the phrase "nobody likes" to me is the interesting bit, because I think that there's two issues here. Firstly, yes, we did give these islands away. Now, one argument can say, well, of course we should give them away. They're not ours. But the second one is you give stuff away if you never ever plan to have it again. If you never ever want that kind of thing again. So it's weird in past times to have given away power, if you like that. And I wonder, in the long play out of stuff, maybe in 100 years' time or 150 years' time, whether it would be seen that was a good thing or a bad thing to give that stuff away. In other words, where's it going to end up then? By us not controlling it, who would be controlling it instead? So there's big questions to be asked there. The other thing is about us not being liked. I've heard very few people talk about this, but I tend to agree with you. And I think it even cuts in a lot with the European stuff. That I noticed that a lot of... I'm going to be unpopular from saying this, but I have to say it. So, a lot of people, particularly from different parts of Europe, after the Brexit vote, were really upset and offended by it, you know, and felt that they were not wanted in the UK, particularly around London, that kind of area, and it was very quick. Oh, you just want your empire back. Stuff like that coming out quickly from people. Is that what you want? And I think maybe what people forgot is, first, we just want to feel control of our own country back, let alone control of other countries. So I feel that there is, outside of the UK, a vision of us as being a small country which has been punching above its weight for hundreds of years too long, and pretty much a resentment in a lot of cases for the empire we had, and kind of some kind of gloating at us being put back in our place. This is what I felt after Brexit stuff, and I guess it was because a lot of people were feeling that they were being judged or not wanted, and maybe not understanding the process that's been going on in the UK for the last 50 years, years before they arrived. It's not, of course, it's not people's fault they've come from other countries and they're living here and often doing really good jobs and being great citizens. The problem is that they've not been that aware of what they've displaced by being there. You know, if you look around London, everyone's moved out because they couldn't afford it or don't want to be there, to smaller places outside. Everybody, almost everybody that I know, if I look at my family and people I know, almost everybody. So of course people feel displaced, and when people talk about London as they know it, and I like the way it is, I think I was born in London. I don't live there anymore, but I feel like it's kind of, again, it's this loyalty thing. Is that, why does someone new have more right and more voice than someone who's established and older? It's all over our culture right now, and that's what I think has been a lot of the slight angst. It's not about racism. It's not about resenting people because they're from different cultures. Even some of the religious stuff, yes, but apart from that, no. I think we're pretty tolerant on all that kind of stuff. I think that we've made massive improvements in racism in my lifetime in this country, colossal improvements. I think it's about economics, and I think that it's not spoken about enough. It's about economics. That, I don't know. I worked in Poland for 5 years. The average person in Poland earns about 6-7 grand a year. Did you know that?
No.
I heard in on the telly today actually that in China the average wage is about £2,000 a year. So this is why we are not so employable. We're expensive, and this is why any decent Polish worker who hasn't got a good job at home, hasn't got the ideal role they want or in the ideal place, might think, well, if I go to the UK, I can earn 3 times more than I'm earning now at home and still undercut the British guys who do the same job. And you can't blame them for doing it, because all of us would go, well, we can triple our wage to work, right?
Yeah.
But we can blame our government for not seeing the bigger point here, that, of course, it's good to have... There's nothing wrong with having all sorts of mixtures of people coming in, and it's good. If they're decent people, great, There's a lot of positives from it. But you can't just allow people to constantly undercut the current workforce. And when I was working in Poland, the Polish people were worried about being undercut by people in Ukraine. But I also worked in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians were worried about being undercut by people working in China. And that's what's really happening at the moment, is that we are very expensive, and we're kind of being moved out, and we have nowhere to go to. So when people come to the UK to better their lives and, often do great jobs and whatever, fit in really well, their life is on the up, and they're not stopping to think that a lot of our lives are on the down, and that's really the problem. If you took out from voting and opinion polls people who have only arrived in the UK in the last 20 years and only allowed people with opinions to be the people from before then, you'd have a very, very negative picture. Because I think the most positive people are the newcomers right now. Most of the rest of us are seeing it going backwards. The other thing is young people, obviously, because they're too young to remember, or they wouldn't have been there. But
I mean, for me, the scary thing is back in sort of like 98, 2000, that sort of time, I was earning over £1,000 a month. Like, bear in mind, I'm up in the north, so I don't get a lot more. But now I'm only on £900 a month. It's like 20 years ago, I was on more than what I am now.
In Sensible Software, in 95, our most junior guy, he was like a tester effectively. He was 18. It'd been 96, 21 years ago, and he was earning 16 grand a year with us, and that's like over 20 years ago, as the most junior person in an office. This is what I can't get over at the moment. Wages are going backwards.
Yeah,
they're going backwards from 20 years ago, and that's what I'm saying. When I look at the advanced monies companies try and fob us off with at the moment, but not just with Social Soccer, with Word Explorer before it, I've turned so many deals down because I'm like, you're joking. Why would we say yes to that? What kind of commitment have you got to our game when you're only offering us money that would have been offered in the 80s or the 90s? It's something is really badly wrong. But if you, as I said, how much did you say you were earning? About 900 a month.
Yeah, about 900 a month.
So that's about what? About 11 grand a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's almost doubling the wages of a Polish guy, an average earning Polish, slightly lower than average earning Polish guy doing the same job. He could double his money by doing that. Of course, he's got to move, live in a more expensive place, and blah blah blah. But even so, that's what's happening. And as I say, I've got loads of Polish friends here and abroad. You can't blame them for doing it, but the government's just not thought it through. That doesn't work. So I see it as a big. If you look at what you talked about, letting go of land, fair enough. We'll let go of land. We don't think we need an empire. Great, whatever. Then we've got having loads of other people coming into the country and working cheaper and undercutting our citizens. Then we've got not prioritising at all people who've paid tax here. Then we've got foreign companies coming in and taking out British companies, and then employing workers who are also not British on really poor wages, and then not paying tax anyway. And the whole thing adds up to just what the hell is going on in this country? Why? It's like, why? Why, when you're in power, just lose so much so fast? I don't get it. I really don't get it. You know, I don't get why you would privatise your services and sell them to companies, any company, let alone a company who's not in the UK. Why would you do that? Why would you sell water companies to private companies, or health services, or railways? Or I actually don't understand the logic in it. It's, quite frankly, it's crazy. It's like they're deliberately breaking everything. I really don't get it. You know.
Well, it's like they say, the rich get richer and everyone else just stays the same.
It's weird because, you know, I've made a lot of money from games at different times, and there's different ways of making money that make you inside or outside. I'd also say, even from what I've seen, that ultimately the school you went to, the class you come from, does count right the way through your life. And that's something which I've only really been aware of in the last 10 or 15 years, but I really do think it's true. And you know, there's different types of money, is what I'm saying. Different types of organisations, different types of power. And what we're seeing now is that when the going gets rough, the people who have always held the power and come from the right places are the ones who hold on to it more until the end. So I definitely believe that we're seeing that right now. That everyone is relatively worse off, don't get me wrong, but the people outside of certain classes are suffering it more, is what I'm saying. Even, I don't know if I've had this discussion with you before, but I reckon if you did since they've like been pushing hard on sexual equality and racial equality and more women in board jobs and more people from racial minorities or whatever, that basically means there's less white men, right, in these positions. But I don't know if anyone's done a survey on the sorts of white men which have given way, because I would guess that the majority of white men that are given away from these power positions are the people that didn't come from the kind of like public school sector, for want of a better expression, in the first place. In other words, the first out the door were the non-public school white men. And I would imagine they've been replaced by men from different races and women who actually did go to these public schools. Meaning actually I would guess the quota of people who went to the fancy schools has actually gone up in the boardroom by getting rid of the white men who didn't go to them. This is a total guess, but this is the feeling I have of what's actually happening at play underneath the surface right now. Which,
it would make sense. It's always what you know and who you know.
Yep. It's really what I feel. I really kind of, I notice it because sometimes I move in circles that touch this kind of thing, and I'm aware of it at certain times, and I found it very irritating for many years. Actually, I'm trying to not care about it now, and you know, what can you do, you know? But it is out there at the moment. It's definitely underlyingly there's stuff. There's levels of different stuff that different people don't know, and I think that only a select number of people, probably very, very high up, really have any clue actually what's going on at all. Because it seems that the picture we're painted on the television and on our social media and stuff is far from what appears to be really going on, or actually really what matters. You know, what really matters is how comes all the banks went bankrupt less than 10 years ago and now they're still there? How come? Why don't we just keep on going back to that one till we get an answer to that one? You know, we're all poorer, earning less money. They blew loads of money and they're just standing there. You know, isn't that the number one question that should be on the news everywhere until we resolve this problem?
I mean, look at Barclays. When there was all that financial stuff like 10 years ago, whenever it was, they actually, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago now, they were fined so many £1 billion because they lied to the public that, do you know when, I think it was Northern Rock when they went under?
Yeah.
Barclays, technically speaking, they said that they had days left to run, but they faked their finances to say that they looked really good, so all the Northern Rock people went over to Barclays Bank.
Ah.
And that saved Barclays Bank, but they basically lied to everyone to sort of say that they were financially sound.
Jesus.
You know, and of course it was like, oh, we'll wait until they get loads of money and then we'll fine them. You know, but I think something like that's despicable.
Well, yeah, so I mean, that's you're right, and that's kind of, that's the deeper, more unsatisfying part of what's going on. So, if I've got to go in a sec, by the way. I'm flying out tomorrow morning. I've got stuff to do. So maybe you should ask me other questions that are pertinent to what you want to broadcast.
Yeah. So before we started recording, I showed John some of the tattoos that I've been getting for my sleeve. They're all retro related, like they're all from like 95 sort of era, like Sega Saturn, Virtua Fighter, Ridge Racer, all those sort of things. And I did say I have kept a special little place where I will be putting a sensible soccer character, and then I'll get the whole thing shaded in. So I think that should look quite cool.
Very good idea. Who's it going to be? Which player is he going to be in your head?
In my head, because of the bright colours of the logos I've already got, I think I'll ask him to do like a really bright blonde hairing of Alan Shearer.
Okay. You're going to put a number 9 above his head?
Oh, I never thought of that. That's an idea. But I mean, I never said this to you when we were talking before. I wanted to have your live reaction.
Go on.
I've given the tattooist 4 or 5 sensible software games to look at the artwork and things, and on my, I don't know, top of my arm, below my shoulder, whatever the hell that's called, my bicep, whatever. Yeah. On there, I'm gonna get a mural of sensible like characters, like something from Cannon Fodder, something from Megalomania, Sensi Soccer, and maybe some other older ones, sort of all put on the top. And then I'm gonna get one of your signatures that you sent over for the game covers. I'll get them to scan that, and it'll have your signature over the top of it.
Well, that's very flattering, Dad. That might be the most flattering thing I've ever heard. So I think it's great. I'd like to see this like mural collage of a lot of the characters that I've designed. You know, it'd be great as an artist.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I mean, if you would like to help in any way by sending over like 4 or 5 of your favourite sort of designs of characters, and then I can give them to the, because I'm going to get this finished at the bottom, which it's very expensive and it takes ages to heal. And then, so it'd be like 2-3 months time when I start on the sensible software sort of like montage thing.
I guess, got a Sensi Soccer man, obviously, Cannon Fodder man. There's a number of Megalomania ones to choose from, because you've got the little men and you've got the bigger characters. the gods.
Yeah.
And then you've got, who else is a character? WizKid is a character from WizKid. Little Sensible Golf Man, Whizball, Parallax Ship. Shoot 'em up construction kit. I'm not sure about. Insects in space. Flying woman with boobs and wings.
I think I'll keep away from boobs and.
Galaxy birds. I can send you a. Remind me, like in a couple of weeks. I'll send you a couple of images. When did you want to get it started?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna sort of like get this bottom bit finished, which will be. I've just had this done last 4 days ago. The other logos. So it'll be another month until I get the shading done and the Sensible Soccer guy put on. So then it'll be the month after. So it'll be like basically 2 months' time when I'll start on the top.
Okay, yeah, I'll rummage around and see what I can find. Just remind me by email. We'll get it sorted.
Yep, that's absolutely perfect. It'd be great to have some, if you have any original artwork that I can get the woman to sort of scan through and you'll have some original artwork sort of thing.
Let me see what I can come up with. Just, like I say, remind me and I'll have a look. Yeah, I'll rummage around for you. I can scan some stuff in, stuff on paper, maybe.
Yeah. So I think on that's been a much longer show than I thought we were going to do.
Yeah.
But as always, it's been a massive pleasure, John.
Yeah, absolutely, for me too.
I guess we might as well talk about the game. If you just want to send people to where they can find more information about Sociable Soccer.
So, yeah, with Sociable Soccer, the best place to look is on our Facebook page at the moment, which is just to type Sociable Soccer into Facebook. That's where you'll get the most updated information. We're going through a big overhaul of our menus at the moment. I would anticipate that you'll get much more stuff towards the end of June, middle of July than now, because we're the bonnet's up on our car, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, look out for what we're going to be doing towards the beginning of the football season, and you'll start hearing about us talking about what we're doing before then. And all I can say is our aim is to bring it out sometime this year. So a bit like what we've been talking about, we can't guarantee it's going to be finished for the beginning of the football season, but it will be out before Christmas, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean,
so between then and then is the aim.
Because it's Football Manager comes out in November, and that doesn't hurt its sales.
No, I mean, so Pro Evo and FIFA both come out in September.
Yeah.
So it's pointless releasing a game in December because it's Christmas deluge. So yeah, you've got bits of October and early November, which are also release holes. But for us, it's about a matter of deciding definitely who we publish with. We're talking to a number of potential publishing partners at the moment, so making a decision on that, and then we'll be better at knowing exactly when we're coming out. But I think that when it comes out, people will be pleasantly surprised. No one who's played the game has said they haven't liked it so far, out of hundreds and hundreds of people. So I'm pretty positive it's going to be good.
Yeah, and as I say, from my experience, it was the best game I played at the Play Expo Glasgow last year, and it was a very rough early build of the game.
Thank you very much, David.
I guess I'll let you get off to Pixel Heaven 2017.
Yeah, well, I've got to finish my VAT return, and it's nearly midnight now, and I'm flying. I'm going to leave here at 9:30 in the morning, so I'm going to have about 3 hours sleep as usual. And then I've got to pack all my music stuff because I'm doing a gig there as well, and a talk, and we're doing the show. So I've got a whole bunch of equipment, really a lot to take with me.
That's one thing I've noticed with you, John. when I was on night shift, I could actually email you just about all hours of the morning. You'd still sort of like reply.
Yeah, the worst time to get me is going to be probably between about 9 in the morning to midday. No, probably from about 7 in the morning to about 11. They're hours when I'm normally asleep, or to 10. But yeah, I work really late. I have to. I creatively direct the social soccer, and I also do the business side, and I do other bits and bobs connected with Tale Studios and doing some gigs and travelling around everywhere. I have to be very organised and hunt for cheap plane tickets like I did just now as well.
Which to me they didn't sound very cheap.
250 quid. It was better than the 450 quid one, and that's the way I view it. That's the way I have to view it, unfortunately.
I guess I'm so used to hearing about the trips to Spain, like 20 quid or whatever.
The thing is, when I go out to Helsinki every second week, and I book so many tickets in advance. So this one is for like 3 trips in advance, but I need to book 4 trips in advance to get the best value. That's the truth. Yep.
Crazy, the world we live in.
Crazy. Actually, I'm lying. No, I'm lying. This one is 2 trips in advance, and that's why I left it too late. See, I need to book the 3 trips in advance one immediately to get it for about 180 quid instead of 250. That's the game. Chase the flights. It's all the same thing, just cheaper.
Well, I would like to thank you so much again for coming on,
Pleasure.
and hopefully we'll hear more about Sociable coming up soon. And as I said before, I thought the minute-to-minute gameplay was nigh on perfect. I just hope all the added extras, the thing that I found out about where you could actually just do the manager thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds perfect. So hopefully that'll be great. So you say that it'll be probably PC first, and then followed by the consoles.
I think it will be mobile and PC first. It's probably mobile will probably be the first because of like soft launching and stuff like that. So what we tend to do with mobile is soft launch it in a territory. It's unlikely to be the UK, but in a country to just check it out and make sure it's working properly and then launch it globally. And we will probably look at doing some kind of Steam version sometime at the end of this year, which will probably start with an early access. But until we know definitely our publishing partner, we're not 100% certain how that's going to work. I know it's vague, but it's the truth. We're not sure at the moment.
No, it's totally understandable. So, Again, thank you, John. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Okay,
and
Dave.
We will just have a quick break, and I'll be back with the goodbyes. So, thank you, John. Goodbye.
See you later.
See ya.
Hi, my name is Justin. I'm the developer of Per Rocket, an iOS space game with cats. And I listen to the One Up Gaming podcast. You can find a link to download my game at facebook.com/perrocket.
And that was episode 202. So thank you to John for coming on there. Now, just going to quickly run through some housekeeping. Basically, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just reading stuff. Go to our website, oneupgaming.co.uk, read some reviews, leave some feedback, comments, that kind of thing. Go to patreon.com/OUG if you'd like to give us a little bit of money just to help us along. We've got official merchandise like t-shirts and mugs at bluecyborg.com. Just search One Up Gaming. We have a music CD out called Games Inspired Music. 20% of each sale will go to the Child's Play charity. And just as a note, we do have Jon Hare's goal-scoring superstar hero on the album. So thank you again to John for that. We have an audio, sort of like, basically all of our podcasts from episode 1 to 100 on a USB stick shaped as a cassette tape, and it's got like a cassette case with a So it looks like an old-fashioned cassette. And that's from a company called audiobooksontape.com. And we've also got a Sans Pants radio interview. The tape's £9 and £1 of it will go to Diabetes UK. We've got Facebook, just search 1UP Gaming. We're on YouTube, again just search 1UP Gaming, you should find us. We're on twitch.tv, just go to OUG Official. We are on Twitter, so if anyone wants to leave us any messages or comments, it is just OUG Official. If you want to email us any questions, just email contact@oneupgaming.co.uk. And lastly, the podcast itself can be downloaded from a number of sources. Please just search 1UP Gaming, subscribe, leave 5 stars of positive feedback. It'll really help with people searching for the podcast. So that is episode 201 in the bag. So thank you again to Jon. It was an absolute pleasure. We booked half an hour to speak with him. Well, I said 20 minutes, so to speak. And I was on the Skype call with him for about 3 hours. Sorry, Jon. Get your taxes sort of like done, and hopefully you get your flight booked for your trip to the Pixel Heaven 2017 gig that you're doing flying out tomorrow. So, thank you all. Goodbye.
Hey guys, Justin here. I just wanted to say that I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you a lot. Yes, you in particular, in that way. And I wanted to say, I think you're great. I've always said that about you. And I was wondering, if you think we're great, if you could give us a quick rating on iTunes, we'd really appreciate it. It would really, really help us out in that, podcasty sort of way. And if you're feeling particularly festive, perhaps even a little saucy, maybe stop by our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/OUG and see if you can't slip a few bucks our way. After all, every little penny or whatever space money they use in Europe helps out the show. Thanks for listening. OUG Gaming will always be free, but with your support, we can always move forward and always be better.